Imagine a gritty, rain-slicked street. You know the kind. A world where your loyalty is paid back with nothing but pure, unchecked greed, and the people closest to you are the absolute first to slide a knife right into your back. Today's explainer dives into a classic, 10-year cinematic noir saga of intense family betrayal and ultimately the sweetest, most satisfying justice you can possibly imagine. It's a crazy story of clawing your way back up from the absolute rock bottom.
So, let me ask you a question. Would you trade a whole year of your life, we're talking blood, sweat, agonizingly long hours in the kitchen, and a promised 50% profit share, for just 10 pounds of pork and a couple of cabbages? I mean, it's insulting, right? Well, this unbelievable slap in the face is the exact spark that ignites the entire narrative of vengeance we're looking at today.
Part 1. Paid in pork and cabbage.
Okay, so here's where we meet Chef Liu. He's a dedicated, incredibly hardworking cook who is just completely blinded by trust in his own family. You've got to look at this staggering contrast. On one hand, you have Uncle Liu Chong, Tao, living it up. He's dropping $2 million on a luxury car, taking constant, lavish vacations to Sonia, and flashing this heavy gold watch. And then on the other hand, you have Chef Liu. He's literally running the kitchen, scrubbing the toilets, just working himself into the ground for a meager $5,000 a month. And his big bonus for all that? That humiliating 10 pounds of pork and 2 cabbages.
And it gets worse. To just totally add insult to injury, his uncle actually had the nerve to look him in the eye and say, "These 10 pounds of pork and 2 cabbages can count as last month's salary. Eat the meat soon, it'll go bad." I mean, wow. He literally framed this pathetic handout as if he was doing Liu a favor. This sheer unfiltered cruelty from his own flesh and blood, that firmly establishes the uncle as the ruthless villain of our story.
Part 2. Forging a new culinary path.
So, after this massive betrayal, Liu is left with almost nothing. We're talking just $2,000 to his name. But he totally refuses to stay down. He goes out and builds his own restaurant, Aroma Pavilion, and he builds it on strict principles, partnering with honest suppliers like Boss Ma. His uncle, on the other hand, he goes right down the dark path. Driven purely by profit, Uncle Liu starts buying this cheap, chemically sprayed zombie meat from a super shady dealer named Boss Zhang. It's a pretty stark reminder that you just can't buy true culinary integrity. Oh, and the arrogance absolutely runs in the family. Enter cousin Luigi. He openly mocks Liu, literally handing him leftover drinks and these cheap freebie perfume samples while spouting off that working as their slave was a favor. The dramatic irony here is just thick enough to cut with a knife. They are strutting around, gloating, completely blind to the fact that their cheap shortcuts are actively digging their own graves.
Part 3. Greed leads to utter ruin.
Now we get to the fallout, and the karma is swift and brutal. It plays out literally like a ticking clock. Check this out. Hour 1, the rotten zombie meat is bought. Hour 2, it is unknowingly served to a dining room absolutely packed with VIPs. And one of those VIPs? The brand new food standards director, Xia. Yeah, disastrous. Hour 3, bam! A massive, undeniable food poisoning outbreak sweeps the room. By hour 24, Cole's restaurant is completely sealed shut by the authorities, and the uncle is hauled off in handcuffs. That is exactly how fast a corrupt empire crumbles.
So what does the uncle do? In a totally desperate final move to bypass the law and just bribe his way out of this huge mess, he hands over his last $300,000 to a shadowy fixer. And guess what? He gets completely scammed. The money just vanishes. It's the ultimate nail in the coffin, leaving this once wealthy family with absolutely nothing. Zero.
Part 4. Sabotage, jealousy, and vandalism.
You'd think they'd leave Liu alone after all that, right? Nope. Even after finding independent success and just minding his own business, the attacks on Chef Liu did not stop. First, that intensely jealous cousin shows up with a gang and violently trashes Liu's new restaurant. When the cousin gets arrested for it, Liu's aunt actually comes begging him to drop the charges. But Liu, he stands firm. He refuses to pervert justice. And if family wasn't bad enough, a rival chef over at the prestigious Peace Hotel tries to destroy Liu's career by secretly dumping handfuls of coarse salt right into his VIP dishes. Just crazy levels of sabotage.
But here's the thing about actual talent. You can't fake it. Instead of retaliating in the shadows, Liu just let his skills speak for themselves in the broad daylight. Right in front of those VIP guests, he flawlessly remakes the dishes from scratch. His unshakable integrity and raw culinary mastery completely exposed the sabotage for what it was. The dirty rival chef is immediately fired, and Chef Liu's reputation, it skyrockets even higher into the stratosphere.
Part 5. The Ultimate Wedding Showdown.
Okay, this is where it gets really good. This brings us to the ultimate power move. Chef Lu doesn't just succeed, he completely takes over. He rents out the exact same foreclosed, bankrupt building that used to house his uncle's restaurant. He totally rebrands it as his own flagship location, calling it Yepong. And the absolute crowning moment of this entire saga? He hosts his beautiful, lavish wedding right there, in the very dining room his uncle lost to pure greed.
So, when the uncle inevitably shows up to try and ruin the wedding and demand respect, Chef Lu delivers the ultimate public humiliation. Right in front of all the assembled guests, Lu squares up and finally returns that initial insulting payment. But he doesn't just return it, he multiplies it by 5. He publicly gifts his uncle 50 pounds of pork and 10 cabbages, announcing to the whole room that the debt is finally and permanently settled. Man, what a payoff.
Part 6. Building a global food empire.
3,000. Let that number sink in for a second. That is the staggering amount of nationwide branches Chef Lu's brand commands after finally going public. From a severely underpaid, abused nephew, he managed to scale his vision into a massive, unstoppable culinary juggernaut.
And just look at how their paths diverged in the end. On one side, you have Chef Lu. He's a global billionaire, flying on private jets, happily expecting his first son. On the flip side, you have the uncle who really thought he could just cheat his way to the top. He is utterly bankrupt, reduced to wandering the rainy streets and scavenging for plastic bottles just to survive. Integrity built a dynasty, while selfishness, well, that led straight to the gutters.
So, as we wrap up this explainer on this crazy, decade-long saga, it really leaves you with a lingering thought. If success is built entirely on the backs of others, how long before that foundation crumbles right beneath you? The true cost of unchecked greed always comes due eventually, and karma, it seems, never loses an address.